Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthana Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyani Paschacharya Shitani. And readings. Canto 7, Chapter 3, Text 21. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tatasta Ashisha Sarva Dadamya Surapungava Martasya Tehya Martasya Darshanamna Phalam Mama Tatasta Tasita Sarva Dadamya Surapungava Martasya Tehya Martasya Darshanamna Phalam Mama Tatasta Ashisha Sarva Dadamya Surapungava Martasya Tehya Martasya Darshanamna Phalam Mama Tata, because of this, Te unto you, Ashisha, benedictions, Sarva, all, Dadami, I shall give, Asura Pungava, the best of the Asuras, Martasya, one who is destined to die, Te, such as you, he indeed, Amartasya, one of who does not die, Darshanam, the audience, Na, not, Aphalam, without results, Mama, my. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. O best of the Asuras, for this reason I am now prepared to give you all benedictions according to your desire. I belong to the celestial world of demigods who do not die like human beings. Therefore, although you are subject to death, your audience with me will not go in vain. It appears that human beings and asuras are subject to death, whereas demigods are not. The demigods who reside with Lord Brahma in Satyaloka go to Vaikuntha Loka in their present bodily constructions at the time of dissolution. Therefore, although Hiranyakashipu had undergone severe austerities, Lord Brahma predicted that he had to die. He could not become immortal or even gain equal status of the demigods. The great austerities and penances he had performed for so many years could not give him protection from death. This was foretold by Lord Brahma. Read verse again. O best of the Asuras, for this reason I am now prepared to give you all benedictions according to your desire. I belong to the celestial world of demigods who do not like human beings, who do not die like human beings. Therefore, although you are subject to death, your audience with me will not go in vain. All right, let's recap a little bit. I assume you'll hear every day, but just not for some reason. I wasn't here yesterday to remember what happened to Lord Brahma here and why he's giving benediction, because he says for this reason, it's because of the great austerities and determination that Hiranyakashipu was performing this vows of his to attain the material benefit of becoming immortal, or at least very difficult or nearly impossible to kill. Interesting verse, of course, comparing demigods, asuras, and human beings and their destination. And yeah, it's just describing the karma that some jiva has acquired throughout lives and what it leads to, the consequences of it. And a little bit of the psychology of the demons and the demigods we can also discuss today in this class. Just check how much time we have. Excuse me, so now you can see it. Okay, 10:15. Wonderful. So, Hiranyakashipu said what he wanted. Very soon Brahma will relieve him from the apparent suffering of losing the body and eaten by ants and um, practically being destroyed and almost just having only bones left and, some consciousness there, holding on to that body and life. That'll be discussed by us. Yes, Lord Brahma will relieve him and sprinkle him with dazzling water, but my husband will talk about it tomorrow, so I'll not steal his verse. Just want to talk about what we have today. Different lifetimes last differently on various planets. As we know, there are several planets below the Earth, including hellish planets and planets with the Nagas and lower species planets. They have shorter lifetime because mostly their life consists of suffering, and therefore even a few moments in hell, they seem like a lifetime. So living entities who get bodies who are able to maintain their life despite undergoing severe suffering, as we've read in the 5th canto, a few months ago, they able to ascend it, but they live much shorter in lower planets. For example, in hell. And then we have, of course, different ages here, different living entities. Trees can live for thousands of years, even some minerals, they live for millions of years, in these bodies. But if you think about human species of life, it also depends on the yuga you're in. And when Hiranyakashipu was present, generally the average lifetime was maybe 100,000. I think in Satya Yuga it was 100,000 on average. That's why the Prachetas also, they could afford meditating 60,000 years underwater. We would think this is quite impossible, but for them, that was a significant amount of time, but still just some of their lifetime, right? Then in Treta Yuga, it was about 10,000, in Dvapara Yuga about 1,000, and in our lifetime, the maximum you can have, absolute maximum that is described as about 120 years, but we know that most people live to less than that because of health and ecology and conditions like that. So, but interesting that because the eternal soul does not want to die regardless of the lifespan it's giving. Not that, residents of Satya Yuga were like, okay, it's enough. Or residents on the heavenly planets who, although also live a similar lifespan, because their time and rotation of the planets and that influence with the sun, the time and the day are different. So their time is a lot longer. It's described that I was just reading it yesterday in my part of the Bhagavatam, again with Prachetas, that 6 months of our time is just like one day. And of course, there are planets and higher planets on Tapaloka and Satyaloka. And then Brahmaloka, Lord Brahma has the longest lifespan. Nobody can outlive Brahma. It's pretty much that when he dies, there is no more material universe that he created. And therefore, nothing can go on. So Lord Brahma is the longest living entity. And therefore, he was also disturbed when Hiranyakashipu had this intention, which was clear to all the different demigods in the world, that, I'm going to outlive Brahma and actually take his position. Why Brahma? Because he's the most long-living being here. And therefore, sort of defeating the lifespan of Lord Brahma was equal to immortality. I assume in his mood of service, right? Hiranyakashipu also served the Lord in a particular way as a demon, because he was going to fight Lord Nrsimhadev. And that is another transcendental pastime that Lord derives pleasure from. So although he's a demon in this lifetime, in some incomprehensible to us way, which we should not repeat unless we sanctioned by the Lord and He so desires, and this is our dharma, in in this particular lifetime to serve Krishna as a demon. He was serving him, but in a negation of Krishna. He just couldn't accept that there's something higher. There's God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternal, who is in a different category. So he just wouldn't take into account even existence of Lord Vishnu or anything to do with him. He would try to compete with Brahma, another jiva, another living entity in this world, but trying to defeat. So it's another mood of atheists, of demons that we can take a note of. They just can't deal with God. They have to find ways to erase him, from the scene, ignore him, pretend that he does not exist, and just try to compete with just most powerful position in this world. Right now and on here, sometimes you hear people talk like this. Nothing else exists. Why are you always somewhere in the clouds dreaming about the future life? It's right here, right now, and you have to fight, and life is short, and just get whatever you can. This is also here in Yakashipu. Just want to live here and right now because I'm ignorant of my eternal relationship with the Lord, at least again for him in this birth, in this lifetime. And so it goes on forever like this. Little demons, big demons, famous demons like Hiranyakashipu are born. We also have some famous demons born right now, and what is the clear sign of it? The psychology of Hiranyakashipu, right? Trying to stay here as long as possible, trying to get the most powerful position from all the governments, from all the states, establish my supremacy. Some demonically inclined personalities, they just try to undergo so many austerities as well. How? Sometimes they mostly just like to prolong their life, having so many heart surgeries, changing hearts, just as long as they can live a few more years. Srila Prabhupada would laugh about it and condemn this sort of mood and behavior, saying that they try to just pay incredible amount of money to the doctors so that they can have their heart replaced or had some medicine, some miraculous treatment, just so that they can stay alive for a few more years. But for what? Not to serve the Lord, not to remember, not to do something really good in this world, really help people to become liberated and enlivened and enlightened spiritually, but just to get more stuff and again more power, to gain more power. And they can't help it. It's the fear of what awaiting them in the next life. So with Hiranyakashipu, you can also understand why he didn't want to die. Every living entity, every jiva can internally feel that the time of death is going to be a final exam. And so for demons, it's a great time of fear and losing everything they've gained. That's why there are some stories, that Narada Muni, perhaps. No, there is. It's an appropriate of one of the stories in Bhagavatam by Srila Prabhupada. He says, I think in the story of Puranjana, when Narada Muni enlightens him, Prachina Barhishat, in the story of Puranjana, he says this allegory that the sage once met different kinds of people, like a brahmachari, a prince, a demon, or like the hunter. And so he describes you can either die or live because your future is bright already, and you, like for devotee or for Vaishnava or for Brahmana, you enlighten people now, or you can go anytime because you awaited a very good situation later serving Krishna. And to some he says, I can't remember. I always forget the story. So if you remember this exactly word for word, please help me. But to some he says that you should die right now because your position good. But if you fall, you might become subject to some temptations. And for some, you shouldn't haven't even been born because you're creating so much bad karma for you for many lifetimes. And all of this is described. So for demons also, They're very afraid of death. It's one of the reasons why they won't become immortal, because they understand every living being, every jiva has Paramatma within. And I think despite trying to be oblivious to the situation, all of us have the moments of truth, whether in a dream state, when we can't fully control the mind or the body or the conscious processes, it's all revealed. And so people who are about to go to hell or suffer for what they've done, they understand it on some sort of deep level as well. And sometimes there are stories that they even see Yamadutas coming after them in a dream, or sometimes even in a real lifetime. They just very, very scared at that moment of death. So perhaps main motivation of Hiranyakashipu is stay powerful and, be at the top of the world, but also internally, every person who isn't at war with God, with Supreme Personality of Godhead, they feel the fear that they actually understand that I'm going to be subject to the laws of karma, and the way I will meet my Lord is in the form of death and punishment. This is how atheistic persons they have to meet and have darshan with the Lord. Not that the plane from Vaikuntha with Vishnu Dutas, the Lord himself sometimes comes and meets him, like it was for Prahlad Maharaj as well. And for all the saintly devotees who are described in Bhagavatam, we see their bright future, and the Lord comes and picks them up, and there's no fear of death. There's no fear of changing that situation. In fact, they don't have to undergo this. The Lord comes to them while they're still in the present body. That happens too, that darshan happens before we even have to change any position or leave the body and go through this. Yeah, but for demons it's difficult, more difficult. So he's trying to stay here. What should we do? Our mood as devotees, what can we derive from this chapter is do exactly the opposite of Hiranyakashipu. If you are of similar nature, wanted to do austerities, of Hiranyakashipu was a leader in some way. We can't deny that he had some materially very strong qualities, a particular personality, determination, and strength, the bodily strength, right? But he just misused it for a very wrong reason. And therefore, in the end, it did not bring him any good. All his strategy has failed because God is more smart, and he was able to kill him despite all these different conditions. The contract, like the lawyers of different organizations, sometimes, you have to sign, especially in America. Maybe in other countries you don't see it very much. And like in Asia, there are not so many contracts like this. But here, everything is just accounted for, and you read these different contracts they have to sign for whatever work, whatever. And it's just like, you can't sue me in the air or on the land. Not in the evening and not in the morning, and you can't take away our money in any other way. So we want to be eternal and immortal as an organization and eternally be protected from any money loss. So, there's some people who probably studied Bhagavatam, some lawyers, and thought, that's a good idea. Let's incorporate it as our business model and economy. Let's follow the footsteps of Hiranyakashipu and make these contracts of how I can be invisible here. So many people try to do it as well, in organizations as well, who try to, sometimes these contracts are ridiculous that you read it, but that's the nature, I want to stay in power as long as possible and be invincible from my karma, from trying to steal from people. Yeah, so what can we do? What kind of reverse psychology can we practice here? It is very simple. It is all summarized and made into the essential text for us to study by Lord Chaitanya in his Shikshashtakam, where he fully describes the mood of the devotee, that I do not desire power and beautiful women or men and praise or wealth. And I'm very surrendered. I kind of want to read Shikshastakam now as we spoke about it. But in the last verse, especially he, in the mood of Srimati Radharani, he says that, oh Lord, one second, I opened it up that I wanted to read. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me. He's completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. So the mood of the devotee is that not only I'm not so interested even to just, attain some particular world, and that's something we need to think about sometimes in work. Sometimes we just practice bhakti with too much desire of just liberation, oh, I'm tired, I'm suffering, and I just can't wait to go to Goloka Vrindavan so I can be free from that and enjoy. That is more of a desire of a demigods or pious living entities to go on the heavenly planets. And eventually we need to drop that desire as well. And the only desire to be in Goloka is just so I can serve Krishna. But you can serve Krishna everywhere. So just like this, Lord Chaitanya demonstrate that we should just be in this mood of waking up and asking Krishna, how can I be your instrument today? How can I serve you today? And it doesn't matter where I am. If I need to go to heavenly planets, I will resist the temptation of just enjoying my senses and forgetting you. If I have to be on the middle planetary systems in Kali Yuga, I will appreciate the suffering and the karma, but I will remain focused on serving you and helping other living beings to change their life and change their karma and remember you. And I will pray at all circumstances to be Vishnu Smaranam, to remember you, to be able to chant your holy names, to glorify you, and to serve you in practical devotional service. And if I have to go to hellish planets for some reason, I can do that as well, because all I want is to serve you. So this is the mode of devotees. And they can perform austerities as well. Of course, many austerities are described in 17th chapter and the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Austerity of the mind, austerity of the body, austerity of speech. And, there are some restrictions of austerities of different, of female and male devotees and human beings, right? So there are many ways we can also perform austerities. What is the austerity for devotees in 2025? In association of devotees, other devotees in ISKCON, or the organizations where they're trying to practice bhakti, and it's because Kali Yuga is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. Our austerity is to be honest to ourselves and honest to others, to be honest with our spiritual life and path, not to deceive others by trying to look more advanced than we are. Our austerity is to be careful with distractions and entertainment, cheap dopamine entertainment that offered in this world, and therefore austerity of being attentive while chanting and tolerating the compulsion and need to be constantly, distracted or entertained by something, but rather learn how to read carefully, how to chant carefully. What other austerity that we can perform to attain the benediction of being, what do you say, pleasing the Lord? Being cooperative with each other and not fighting, even when it feels like we're right and it's totally justified to fight and to sever the ties and burn the bridges and then be upset. Sometimes you see it becomes a very popular practice to write big Facebook messages. Why I left is gone. Let me tell you all the things that I was upset about and I was abused and, who I didn't like and how they didn't recognize my incredible talents and personality and everything. I've been met with a lot of this. I've seen a lot of this letters over and over again, time to time. Just devotees sort of like indulging in just criticizing. And I don't say it's completely wrong. I think it's also important because it reminds all of us what not to do. It's important. Sometimes it's a wake-up call, especially if some difficult and painful truth is revealed in our community, in our society, is important, and it shouldn't be ignored. But at the same time, on a personal level, for each devotee, we have to ask ourselves as well, am I just indulging in it? Or because I couldn't find peace, I couldn't forgive someone, I couldn't conquer my ego in certain situations. And just remember, there's my goal here in a particular institution, in the particular community, in the society of the devotees. And sometimes we just get overwhelmed with that feeling that I have to be right, or the world needs to know how I wasn't treated fairly and properly. Yes, how our dear Dhruva Prabhu says, both things are there. But it's important again to remember that one of the austerities in Kali Yuga is just to be able to, maintain certain status quo of the community member, of a friend, of sometimes being responsible for a particular service, and therefore, yes, experiencing discomfort on a personal level because of inevitable conflict of interest. We often forget how many different persons come into our community, how many different levels of devotees. Usually we just have to sort of guess and imply it from someone's level of consciousness, their level of readiness, their level of surrender, their level of realization in Krishna consciousness. But interesting that you can never actually even see it in someone, astrologically as well. Sorry, I have to bring it up because I study astrology very thoroughly, and I tell you, there are ways that people can see the accumulation of the past karma in all their birth in the human body. And so you can see in someone's life, in a present life, how much of the total karma, and positive and negative, acquired. And there are positions. I don't want to be technical here, but if Ketu, a very spiritual planet, as a drishti, has an aspect of you in the accumulation of your past life chart, you can see that someone already been a Vaishnava before. There is an indication in astrology that someone has been practicing bhakti, has been acquainted with the path of the Vedic civilization of the Vedas. And there's also indication that when someone was sort of almost there, you can see that person was more worshiping Lord Shiva and going on the path of Shivaites, and similar mood in different religions, because although not many people have Lord Krishna and Mahadev, in their traditional religious path, still there's a particular mood, that they follow. Some people have been practicing most of their lifetimes before, worshiping Bhutas or Durga Devi or Pitris, some other traditions like that. So you can see all of that. Why did I start saying all of this? Oh, yes, different karmas and cooperation and austerities. So we have our own austerities, and I think it really helps to be very open-minded. And when you see some devotees or some aspiring devotees, struggling through things, we have to be very compassionate and helpful, not judgmental, although wanting to help them to speed up that sort of karma elimination process. And still, we have to see that for somebody, this is the very first time of being a devotee or trying to be a devotee and meeting Krishna. And therefore, they're going to need some time. Yes, there is mercy of the devotees and the Vaishnavas, and certainly that is also part of our spiritual potential, of our destiny, of Krishna planet, like we sometimes say, right? That we don't really deserve it according to our past karma. But somehow or other, we do a little something that brings a Vaishnava in our lifetimes, a guru. Maybe it's a sincere, desperate call of the jiva, because of the suffering they undergo. Maybe it's unconscious, subconscious, in what's the word? Agyata, unknowing devotional service that they have done to somebody, or something good, some punya karma that have they have done, and therefore they will need devotees in this lifetime. But overall, yes, human birth in this lifetime, you don't know what people have to experience. There's so much that is going to fructify. There's also so much that already appeared in the lifetime in the form of our manifested body, health, material position, social position, the level of our intellectual capability. There's so many things that already manifested, fructified. And now we have this free will to either improve a little bit of karma for the next life, or make it a lot worse, or maybe burn it all. And we're going to go soon to my conclusion of the power of the holy name in our practice and how much it actually changes our lifetime. But yes, again, if you look a little bit of a perspective of Jyotisha, you will see that sometimes the person created so much good, but they're only going to have a spoon of that goodness in this lifetime. And it's going to last for many, many lifetimes. And sometimes someone has done so much good karma, that they have to go to heavenly planets to enjoy and experience all of this. And sometimes someone done so much bad that they can only digest like a 1 teaspoon of this karma. Imagine a big fruit salad, and they can only get 1 teaspoon. And sometimes you think, like, how is this villain is even alive from all the things that he or she has done? Don't you ever wonder? You're looking at some people or politicians or someone, and you think, how is it possible that they even still here and enjoying and not immediately destroyed by what they've doing, the atrocities? Well, it's because of this. All of this is awaiting them in the future, and there's so much bad karma accumulated by someone that they might have to go to much lower species and to hell as well, because they won't be able to digest all of this and work through all of this in the human body and the middle planetary systems like we do. So all of this is played in an incredible way, in a very fair, just, and complicated, intricate way. That's why who's singing like this? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Anadi Karma Pala, there's unlimited karma. And maybe just some material austerity will not help us to burn it or untie these knots. So, in the mood of devotees, in my conclusion of this little rambling that I have presented today to you, I wanted to say that, yes, we also should be determined like Hiranyakashipu, even beaten by ants of material desires, burned by the heat of our karma, of our material limitations, whether it's money or health, or against there's some other obstacles that you encounter sometimes that might seem like they're supposed to interrupt your process of bhakti. Actually, they shouldn't. We should be determined, like Hiranyakashipu, to please Krishna with our austerity of hearing, chanting. It is austerity in Kali Yuga, unless you become very qualified and well trained with your mind, becoming pure, and therefore it becomes your second nature. And so you are consciously just becoming such a pure sadhaka that this is just your nature, and you do it every day, and there's no austerity, there's nothing but sweetness and pleasure and ecstasy of hearing and chanting. But in the beginning, when we just trying to put some effort and change our life, and beg Krishna for mercy and for noticing us for this, yes, there is some austerity that we need to undergo, of creating a structure in our day and finding time, no matter what conditions you have in your lifetime. Again, health, money, whatever, relationship, other challenges within you that we don't know about, their karma, other teaspoon that you decided to eat in this lifetime. There's some difficult karma, something really spicy or something really sour, or maybe some spoiled fruit, from that fruit salad that you're eating right now, from the accumulation of your karma. All of these things are there, but we can continue to meditate on performing austerities with the same determination, so that one day Krishna will come and say, all right, I'm ready. You have conquered my heart with your sincere attempt to serve me, to remember me. And here you go. Here I am. Now, here Lord Brahma came because he was the one sort of threatened actually by Hiranyakashipu, right? He was the one who had to give him benediction, but also it was a little bit of out of fear and out of necessity and need because Hiranyakashipu was burning the whole life, all the different living entities and demigods and creatures and birds with the heat coming out of his head because of the austerity. So Brahma really had no choice but to come and do that. But Krishna, nobody can force Krishna. And as we've read many, many times in Bhagavatam, the performing austerities devotees like little Dhruva and those others who just heard and heard was hearing and chanting for a long time and remembering Krishna or worshiping him with prayers. We have devotees who are exemplary in all 9 processes of bhakti, and they glorify and describe in Bhagavatam. Ambarish Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj, and again, those who created amazing prayers, Nandanam. So all of them had darshan of the Lord in the end because of this austerities. And that's our meditation. That's our goal. Please don't torment and torture your body or mind just to gain something temporary that you're going to be taken away anyway at the end of this life. It's going to be even more painful when you get something with your hard work and you're so attached to it, you value it so much. It's even more painful to go when it's time to leave the present body. But austerity performed, first of all, in the mode of goodness or in the mode of pure goodness, just to please the Lord and not for personal gain, is only liberating, is only freeing us from fear, from clutches of Maya, from hankering, from greed, from desire to stay here forever. And it's described that for devotees who've been preparing their life, been doing that for a long time, they sometimes don't even feel the moment of death or that sort of change because their meditation in Krishna is so deep, and therefore they are taken care of by the Lord. They don't experience the pain and the fear of the final exam of death, of leaving the body. And I think our duty is to have full faith in that process and somehow rather remind ourselves and each other to follow that process and be to develop the same determination. Even as demons, we can learn from them as well. But just please direct it in your hearing, your chanting, your vows. Right now is especially good time. I personally just love doing Kartik vows. All right, it's Damodarashtakam time. I'm so sorry. I think I missed the moment for questions. So yes, I wish you all the same strength as Hiranyakashipu had to fulfill your vows during Kartik Vrata, to be happy and to have the darshan of the Lord one day, because of your sincerity and your sincere, loving glorification of the Lord and remembrance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees. Now we start Damodarashtakam. I assume the temple is going to connect in some way, right? Please enlighten me what happens next. I can't see anybody on the cameras, but maybe you tell me what happens after.
Hare Krishna, Devi. Thank you so much for the class. So they're gonna have Guru Puja and then Damodar,
Okay,
and then greetings, and then Damodar has to come. So I think you can continue.
Okay, so I just wait until the temple microphone connects in some way?
Well, to be honest, because you're online, I think they'll just mute and they'll just continue. And so if there's other questions, maybe you could stay on as much as time allows in your schedule.
Wow, okay. Sounds good. So we'll go a few more minutes and you let me know.
Okay, you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah. Yes, we can discuss things. I would be very eager to hear what you particularly learning for yourself from this chapter and from this verse too. just thinking of Hiranyakashipu, if you can use your imagination and your, the strength of your mind to imagine his situation and his sort of life. What are you getting from this canto, from this verses? I'd like to hear as well, or from our talk today. Maybe there was something interesting that you also want to mention, or anything. Or please correct me as well if there's something I wasn't able to quote well or present. You're also welcome to do that. But let's discuss for a few minutes and then I'll go for Guru Puja. Thank you very much.
Jivapati Prabhu, you have a question?
Hi, Krishna Mataji. I had one quick question. My phone kind of like cut. It was like freezing. I wanted to get recollection of the letters. What were the letters you were talking about?
I've never mentioned any letters today.
Oh, okay. I heard something about letters and then my phone froze. Oh, sorry about that.
I wish I quoted some of the letters of Srila Prabhupada, but I don't think I did.
Okay.
It was just some connection. Sorry.
Okay. Hi, Krishna.
Anybody else want to mention anything or say? Dinapalika Prabhu, Devidasi, Mataji, sister.
Haribol. I hope you can hear me. It's like kind of loud out here. I was wondering because you were talking about Krishna's, us being purified and then also karma. So I was wondering, as devotees, whenever we're going through like a very big overhaul of like past karma or just being, just like getting some purification that really rubs up against like your core false ego, if that's even a thing, then how do we process that as devotees?
I know that the general mood that we should strive for is that I deserve a lot worse due to my past. And this is Krishna's mercy that I'm only experiencing that much right now. This is the first technique that you can exercise and sort of close on gratitude that things could have been a lot worse. Maybe it's not the best sometimes, but honestly, if I'm going through a rough time, oftentimes I have to think of the world and what some people going through right now, and even people I know or people I don't know, and just see, the news in the world and everything. And I think, goodness gracious, I shouldn't really be complaining, because when we zoom out a little bit from the microcosm of our mind and really the interaction of others that can cause the suffering or whatever's going on really within our body. But we zoom out first to, I don't know, you can make this mental exercise. You zoom out to this city or the room in the city and the country, and then the continent and the earth, and then the solar system, and more, all the way up to, I don't know, the complete cosmic creation of this place. And we try to meditate a little bit on what living entities have to go through sometimes, and it really helps to stop that process of for me, sometimes I was almost like feeling pity for myself. Like, why am I suffering so much? And I shouldn't be going. I'm already devotee. Krishna, why aren't you saving me from this experience? I can't believe this is happening to me, or something like this. It helps to zoom out a bit and see things from perspective of just your past lives, your future lives, many other lives, many other living beings and their bodies and their karma. And like, okay, I think it's not so bad. So this exercise is very useful, just to feel very grateful that we only have that much, and therefore it's digestible and manageable. Other perspective is, for me, I found it very helpful and useful to study a little bit of your karma scientifically. First of all, by reading the books in Bhagavatam and other literature by Srila Prabhupada and Acharyas that describe types of karma. We talk about fructified and only the one that's still there is to grow, and some is aprarabdha, right, and manifest karma. We can work on that and just think philosophically. Right now is just has come the period where past karma, not from this lifetime, not what I remember, has come to fruition. It has to be somehow or other manifested. Their perspective is how devotees They unplugged the fan, but it's still turning. And so you're still receiving that particular karma, even though you are already trying to take shelter of the Lord and really burning it up by chanting the holy names. We know that no amount of karma cannot be burned, accumulated. There are no amount of lifetimes that you accumulate bad karma and any karma that holy name, sincere chanting, uttering of the Maha Mantra can burn. So it's a very valuable process, and we shouldn't underestimate that. You know, the whole sixth canto was all about the power of the holy name, the story of Ajamil. All of it is there. It's true. It's already happening. But because we forget things from the past and we can't see things in the future, it just seems so intense in the moment that we almost like lose our intelligence because of that pain. And we sometimes can lose our philosophical perspective on life and just think in the moment like, oh, this is just impossible. I can't handle this karma, the suffering, the pain that my ego is undergoing. Yeah, it's like this. It's very intense. But again, that's why um, especially, I think His Holiness Devamrita Swami, I can personally share with you last time I had interaction with him. I regret that interaction, but it was very helpful. And since then, I have not undergone such a turmoil in myself. He came to our house, and it was a program, and he stayed with us. And at that time, my mind was very disturbed because of a very some insignificant karmatic relation. You know, I was just upset. I was upset at my husband, at myself, at my life. And somehow or other, I couldn't control it because usually when Gurudev comes, what do? Hare Krishna. No problems, right? You're very spiritual. You just try to serve. Somehow or other, I was overwhelmed. And so I was complaining to him. Oh, such and such, and he and she and me. And so I was actually just telling all these very petty things to Gurudev. And what did he say? He, in a way, he really quickly enlightened me, pulled me out of it. He said, how much a day are you reading? How much per day do you read? Do you read every day? And I said, yes. How much do you read? I said, sometimes 15, sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes half an hour. 1 second, I go. And he said, you have to read more. He said, you have to. Oh, and I was telling him, like, Maharaj, but you know, I have good karma. Do I really have to suffer like this? You know, I'm very comfortable in this material life. It was another instance. And he said, you just have to develop more spiritual intelligence. You just have to develop more intelligence. He just said to me straight up like this, that the reason I'm experiencing both suffering and also illusion that I'm going to just be happy materially, I don't have to change anything and it's not a big deal, is because of lack of my spiritual intelligence. So another advice is that whenever you feel this overwhelming feeling like, oh, it's like out of control, you know, what's going on in my life, we have to understand that the main source is our mind. And really, it's so helpful to have someone, Srila Prabhupada in his books, a peer, a friend, a partner, and guru, Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru, senior devotees, spiritual practice to remind us, hey, it's time to jump into this roller coaster and stop the mind and read and strengthen it and just go on with the very strong, determined position to continue. And also, don't worry about it. It passes. Those things and moments really do finish, especially for devotees. You know, we go through our negative karma pretty fast. We burn it sometimes even in dreams, avoiding facing real circumstances in life and problems. Sometimes you even just experience suffering while you sleep. You wake up and like, whew, that was a tough dream. You know, the tiger cut up, you know, whatever, ate me. That's it. You wake up, you're done. You suffered enough. Nothing will happen in your life today. So let's be grateful for that. This is the only thing that we're having to go through. It is hard in the moment, but as we come out of it with strong consciousness, Krishna consciousness, with asking for help, which is difficult for the ego, but very beneficial for our real ego, we become victorious. And just like Hiranyakashipu retained his beautiful body, strong, beautiful golden body, after Brahma sprinkled some water on him, in the same way, we come out of all our material difficulties as soon as we call out to Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He comes and he sprinkles that transcendental nectar on us. And we're just like new. And we're like, whoa, I can do it all again. No worries. So I wish you all the same strength and support. And Hare Krishna, Prabhu, your turn. You had your hand raised, unless it's about the deities and us finishing.
No,
Haribol.
still going on. So thank you so much for that very enlightening class. The topic you brought up, which I found very fascinating, was the idea of capacity of being able to digest different types of karma. So basically, yeah, the example you gave about good karma is that sometimes you do so much good that actually a human body on Buru Loka is not good enough. You actually need a body that has more capacity to enjoy. Similarly, even with bad karma, it just put into perspective why, just like great demons like Stalin, for example, don't immediately get annihilated because they just don't have that capacity. So, like in the fifth canto, we see that even when you are being transported to the hellish planets, the subtle body almost has an almost unlimited capacity to suffer, right? So, in other words, you need to not have a material body to be punished in that way. So, my question relates to just bhakti and sarva, the definition of bhakti, sarva parivarana muktam, in that by giving up false ego, you're basically opening yourself up to a capacity to enjoy spiritually or to actually experience Krishna even while in a material body. So the status of Jivan Mukta is that one is, experiencing the bliss of Vaikuntha even though they're actually in a material body still. So is that a correct way? Because this dynamic is akarma, sarvapadi viranmuktam, it's akarma. Whereas the other, basically dynamic of the idea of having insufficient capacity to either enjoy or suffer, that's on the level of karma. Is this dynamic also applicable in akarma, like bhakti?
So you're saying that as soon as we able to give up our false ego or really just not have any more material desires, we can immediately experience spiritual level of happiness and have the capacity to experience that as the soul, even while in material body with subtle body. I think so. I think that this is our path as well. It just probably doesn't really happen in some magical way that you make one decision. That's it. Obviously that I give it up. It's not that easy. So we still have to undergo pretty serious spiritual transformation to be really in that level in this body. And I think very few people can do that. Perhaps there are. We don't even know about them because because they don't have any material desire to be praised or be famous or be glorified for their spiritual qualification. So most of the time, very advanced Vaishnavas who already relishing transcendental mellows of Krishna consciousness, probably unknown to us, to be honest, unless Lord desires so for them to be revealed and, being examples. But most of the time, we won't even know that they live on that platform. But I'm sure there are Vaishnavas, there are devotees who exist on that platform, that they just on their final place before really not having any more subtle or material body, before just being stripped off of that and being themselves finally. And so I think there's possible. And I've seen people like that in Vrindavan. How they're like that? Because the Tamadikaris, not only in Vrindavan, in many places, but I'm just thinking of a particular person, Sambhaj Basi, who really dedicated life to just hearing chanting and supporting others, and that so much that in their presence, you really feel Krishna conscious physically, immediately. The power of their bhakti can affect you so much that by chanting around that person, you can experience the same level of ecstasy just by being around they taste and this incredible realization. And you can also very easily see that in people's priorities and their choices in life and how they choose to spend their time when they're seen by others and they're not seen by others. That's one thing to in the community and present ourselves. It's another thing. What do you do in your free time? How do you choose to spend your free time? What is your desired activities? And so some people, they literally free from false ego, and therefore they don't really maintain any material desires, don't pursue them. They don't engage in particular activities that nurture those desires. They just always engage in transcendental mellows. So I think it's possible, entirely possible. And in fact, I would love to all of us to attain and practice this and be determined. And again, have faith that Krishna is so powerful that there is nothing that he can do. The limitation is in our mind because we don't allow ourselves to be pure devotees. I think, no, I will lose myself. I'll be someone else if I lose this material desire. Oh, I'll be unhappy if I don't fulfill that in this lifetime. I have to, I need to, but ultimately I want to. So most questions are not have to and need to. Most questions are want in this lifetime. Our choice is the want. So work with the desires, work with deep desires, and by one way or other, resist the desires that are going to maintain the false ego and maintain the subtle body for many more lifetimes. That's our war. That's our austerity, to change our wants. Because when you want something, you'll get it and you will do it. The question is, do we want Krishna? Do we want to be there? Do we want to give up our false ego? Because if we wanted, we would already do it. Such is the nature of the soul. And even of the senses, we do what we want. So our main challenge for this life is to want to serve Krishna. And how to do that? To be with those who want, to read literature that will make us want, aka Srila Prabhupada's books, and to always beg for that mercy. Because sometimes we will find ourselves incapable of doing all of this in one lifetime, because our bodies are just hard to maintain sometimes, to be honest. Like, it takes a lot of time to just stay healthy and feed ourselves and keep it clean. It like takes half of the day sometimes to do all these things. And if you have little bodies as well with you around, wow, I'm telling you, it can be a whole day affair. Unlimited task, unlimited service. And although it's wonderful, we can also pray for mercy and ask Krishna to please help us to complete whatever we couldn't, just because we're sincere in our want to please him and to serve him in the best capacity. And the best capacity is the spiritual body, because you won't be bothered by interruptions of material energy, which has to be maintained. So that's my meditation as well. Just, I want to want Krishna, and I want to want devotional service, and I want to want it. Sometimes I don't want, because there are strong material desires that interrupt. They are like noise on the radio. You're trying to hear Krishna Katha, but there's, I want this and I want that, or do that. And, I want to have this clear connection. And yeah. So if it doesn't really answer your question, but I think it's related in some way. Thank you. All right. I assume.
Thank you.
I assume you're all tired of me, and we should probably conclude, unless anybody else has something to bring up, and then yeah, we can go for the next program, please. All right. Thank you, dear devotees. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. His Holiness, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyeva patitanam pavanabhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Kartik Masa ki jai. Okay. Thank you.